You're listening to Intuitive Style, where we believe that everyone has style. I'm Maureen Welton. In conversation with fantastic guests, we explore how to tap into our style intuition so that we can dress authentically and live fully. Today's guest is Traci, writer of Rambling in Style on Substack. Traci launched onto the scene in the spring and has been lighting up our feeds ever since. And in addition to writing about style, she's a full-time school teacher. Thank you for doing that. And parent. I love her extremely relatable angle as a fellow self-taught personal style enthusiast. I think this is really important kind of representation. So Traci, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to chat with you. So,
yeah.
One thing I appreciate about your writing is your flexibility and the way that you allow yourself to kind of go where the vibe takes you. So, for example, your post about palette cleansers, which, aside from being a great lesson in slowing down, also touched on rule breaking. Specifically, you had planned out a handful of outfits and ended up dressing very differently. So what is that decision-making process like, planning outfits and staying flexible?
It's so funny because all my friends and family would describe me as like the least flexible person in the universe. So to say that this is a skill that I've had to like really try to build over time is the truth. So yeah, with that, our family was going to Aruba, and I have been loving using Index to digitize my wardrobe, and I'll probably talk about it a lot here and there. But so I was digitizing my wardrobe. I was kind of planning a collection of what I was going to wear each day. And one of the things when we go away, we have this unspoken family rule that it's carry-on only. Like, we don't check bags. We refuse to do it. We went to Disney World for like 8 days and we did not check a bag. So I'm trying to get everything neatly in my luggage, and I plan it down to the T. And I got to Aruba, and it's funny, like you mentioned vibes. Like, the vibes just didn't feel, they felt off for what I packed. And old Traci would have probably went into a panic, right? Of like, but I planned this and I have to take pictures, and what about my content, and what about my next blog post? And this new Traci 2.0 that I'm really growing into since kind of my Substack launched in the spring has really been kind of like, okay, pause. Like, you don't really want to get dressed right now. You don't really want to put on these like really cute outfits that you planned. You instead want to focus on just being present with your family. You don't want to be running around holding your camera, taking pictures. Like, it just wasn't what I wanted to do on the trip. And there was this part of me that felt so guilty, right? Like, I was like, I packed these outfits, I have to shoot them, people need to see them, that's what the people want. And I had to take a minute and say, like, but what do I want? Like, right now, I want time with my family. And right now, I want to wear what just feels comfortable. I don't really want to put a heel on, or, a pair of shorts that might just feel a little tight right now because I'm having fun with my family and we're trying all the things. And I think it's just building that skill of just giving myself permission to say, you can change course, right? Like, you don't have to go into something and say, I'm 100% doing this because it's what everyone else wants. It was in that moment saying, well, what do I want right now? I want to be comfortable. I don't want to wear all these things that I planned out, and I want to enjoy being present with my family. And that's kind of where that post came from. Like, it wasn't supposed to be that. It was supposed to be everything else. And giving myself grace to say, you can change course, and allowing myself, I love to make rules for myself, right? Like, I have to wear this, or I have to have this done by this day, or whatever it is. And a lot of the rules I make for myself, nobody else is making them for me. So in this new 2.0 phase, it's been a lot of saying like, okay, you can pivot, and you can pivot and be okay, right? You don't have to have this breakdown or this shaming that you didn't do what you planned. You can just pivot and try something different. And I think when it comes to getting dressed, a lot of what I do is I pivot and I can make those adjustments. But the big thing for me has been like not following that up with shame, right? Yeah. Of like, you did a bad job, or you didn't do what you said you were going to do. It's okay to let the world down to take care of yourself. And I think that was that moment.
So on this podcast, I try to talk about body awareness, and I think that's a big part of telling our bodies that, or making sure that our bodies and our minds are in the right roles. Mm-hmm. So I'm just curious, you had mentioned that in the past you would have panicked. Mm-hmm. So this time, how do you make that transition to not panicking when the situation is the same? Do you lead with your mind? Do you lead with your body? How does that?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of leading with my mind, because I think that is my worst enemy. And I write about this all the time, about being a super type B person and sometimes being a little bit of a hot mess and having to juggle that. And sometimes that can be really stressful. But yeah, I think a lot of it is conditioning my mind to say it's okay. You can make those changes. You can be flexible. You can wear what feels good to you, and nobody's watching. Mm-hmm. Nobody really cares what you're wearing. Sometimes, and I think that's just an inner dialogue that I've learned with a lot of help to have with myself.
And in those moments, is it do you try on the outfit that you were originally thinking and then take it off? Or is it more you see the outfit in your head and you're I don't even want to put it on? How does that feel?
So it's I'll get out of the shower, I'll get myself ready, and then I'll look at my phone and I'll look at the outfit that I planned, and I'm just no.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
No, it's just not today. We're going to get tacos. Yeah. I don't need to wear this gorgeous little look to go get taco meat spilled all over me.
Yeah.
It's just no. I'm a big vibes person. And when I feel it, I kind of just try to trust my gut and what it's telling me to do.
Yeah. Thank God for our gut.
Yeah, seriously.
So I'd love to talk about how you decide what to buy and wear and what not to buy or wear.
Yeah. I think I feel my style evolution has really changed a lot in my life, and I think for me it's been really important. So one of the things that really attracts me to a piece is colors. And it's funny because I'm not a very colorful dresser, but one thing that I really obsess over is the combinations of colors. And sometimes what I'll do is I always say I'm a huge copycat. I love to see things and put my own twist on it, or admire it and appreciate it and try to replicate it in my own way. I never sell myself as an expert or a stylist. That's not I literally am I'm a civilian. I'm a mom. I'm just trying to look good. And I'm I'm the guinea pig. I'm taking what everyone's, talking about and seeing how I can work it in real life. A lot of what I do is I'll find color combinations that I really like. And then I'll focus on a piece or something, and I usually like to then go to Pinterest, right? And I'll look and see how can I work this green sweater? And I'll just search, green sweater outfits. And I'm just kind of looking through them, and I'll sift through them. And anytime I find that color that matches this combination that I start to then I just start saving it, right? And then after a while, when I start to see, for me, a big thing is is it versatile? Can I really use this piece? Because if it's really just this one trick pony, it's not worth it for me to invest, right? I don't have endless dollars. I'm a school teacher, I'm a mom. And for me, it's a real careful consideration that most of my friends and family think is absolutely insane. But I like to really just kind of luxuriate in the colors and see if they can work. And I think that's part of why I love graphics and design so much. I think another thing has really been, for me, as far as buying, is finding brands that I really like. And unfortunately, sometimes brands that I like are out of my price range. And I have to be okay with saying, I can't afford that. Right? I could look secondhand, I could wait, I can hope for a sale, but I think it's coming to terms with where can I get what I'm looking for that's a good quality, that's in a range that's okay, that I feel okay spending. Because there's nothing that feels worse than overspending for something that doesn't get its use for me. I think, so with that, I've found some brands that I really gravitate to. I'm waiting for J. Crew to call me. Please, But no, I think like I love to, I feel like they really align with my style. I found over the years, for example, like Madewell really aligns well with my style. But not only do they align with my style, but they align with my budget and how much, I'm willing to spend and how much I can spend. I think I'm also just like a really big mood-based dresser. And I think, I joke about like vibes and I think that a lot of when I get dressed and I gravitate to certain pieces, it really just has to do with like a feeling that it can evoke. And I think those are the biggest things.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to go back to the color because I'm also very particular about color, and I'll get kind of a color like stuck in my brain and I want to buy something in that color. And then I'll buy like the first version of it that I see that like is the right proportion or whatever. And then I will be like, oh, that wasn't how I want to wear that color. Like I want to wear that color in a different way. But I bought this thing and now I'm trying to use it. Is this like a very me problem, or do you ever do that where you like are so caught on a color that you're not really thinking about how you want to use it and more about using it?
Yeah, often. I think like this color thing, I think it's been something I've dealt, like I always have had. I'm like a self-proclaimed Aquarius and I love talking about being an Aquarius and I love announcing to the world that I'm an Aquarius. So there's like this creative edge sometimes that I have. And I think when it comes to colors, I do something really similar. I'll find a color, I'll hyperfixate on how much I love it, right? So maybe it's cobalt blue and I just can't stop thinking about it. And sometimes what I'll do is instead of just reaching for the first one that I can find that I may not really love, I'll start being like, I need a cobalt blue sweatshirt. I need a cobalt blue sweater. And then it's like, okay. And it's like, I want all these things, but how can I find them at the cheapest price? And I start going through like this whole hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Until I finally have to like self-talk myself and say like, stop.
Yeah.
Do not think about this for a week.
Yeah.
And then come back to it with a clear mind.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's super fair. One thing I do is I'll buy it in nail polish.
Ooh.
Yeah. And that kind of like helps me get unstuck a little bit, assuming I can find the color. Just throwing it out there.
I like it. I think it's a great idea.
So we talked a little bit about body awareness, but are there any specific textures or fits or styles that you gravitate towards because of how they feel maybe on your body or feel how they make you feel?
Yeah. I think it's funny. Do you mind if I segue a little bit to just talk about my journey with body awareness? Can I?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay. And then like that'll kind of make sense. I felt like there's a couple of big things, like shifts in my life that have, when I think about when I became really aware of the skin that I'm in. And one of the things is, I talk about it a little bit, but I was a college athlete. I played lacrosse in college, and being an athlete very much defined who I was for a really big portion of my life. And, when I think back on my college experience, I think that was the first time I became hyper aware of my body. I was so lucky to grow up in a home where that was never something that I thought about. My parents were incredible. And I think when I got to college and I became part of a team is when I really started to not only see myself, but then start looking at everyone else, right? Mm-hmm. And some things that I was kind of thinking about that started that was, like a heavy, intense strength and conditioning program where we were Olympic lifting and we were getting big and strong. And it was all about, who could lift more or, which was cool. Like we were celebrating our bodies being strong. I think there was also this component where we were weighed, and they did our body composition and they would clip, your love handles and like there was like listen, like nobody was doing this to make us feel bad, but then like there were conversations about what was your percentage and like mine was never that great. And I felt like I started to think about it a lot then. I think we used to have to like announce what size sweatshirt we wanted. And like, I was always getting like a large and everyone on my team was getting a small or an extra small. And, like there were just things that like were never done intentionally to be hurt like at all. But, you know, we went to Australia as our team, and I remember being probably one of the only players that didn't want to take off my shirt and wear my bathing suit because I'm with these women who were like incredibly incredible, and that just wasn't my body type. And I think from then it started a really long journey of being like, of comparing myself, of not really loving myself, of always wanting something that I couldn't have. And I think it's taken a long time of really being able to reflect on that and how that shaped the way I see myself in the world and how I model certain behaviors in front of my daughter. But yeah, college athletics are crazy. They're wonderful, and everyone wants their kid to have a scholarship and do it. But I think like it was intense, and you know, people's parents coming up to me and saying like, you should start running with ankles on your weights. Ankle like weights on, and like just internalizing a lot of that as like a really impressionable young person. And the other thing I think about is, you know, my sophomore year, I had, you know, not the best eating, and I had lost a lot of weight, and I looked great from the outside, but that was a time in my life that I got the most positive feedback from the world around me. And what I learned was like, eat cottage cheese all day and stop your menstrual cycle and you're gonna get positive attention, right? Yeah, so like that was like a lot. So I feel like just to like, I feel like everyone has a journey. And like, we don't just wake up one day in front of a camera and say like, I'm going to take outfit selfies and I love myself. And like there's so much work that goes into having the courage to do that. And I think, you know, after having my kids, it was going through that, right? Trying to re-love my body again and accept its changes. And I've wrote about on Substack, you know, my miscarriages and having to learn to love a body that let you down, and how hard that was for me now in my more recent years, that I'm finally kind of overcoming that. So when I think about like what I like to wear, I feel like it's always important to understand the journey that's gotten me to this place. Because I think even thinking about fabrics and textures, like there were times like I couldn't look in the mirror without crying, right? Without like hating myself, and having to really change the way I view myself and I view my worth. So I feel like I love to wear things that are comfortable. Like that's the most important thing. Like I am not going to wear something or feel good in something if it's digging into me and I don't feel good. So I love like elastic waistbands. I love satin pants. I love cuts of jeans that are high-waisted. Like I would love to be a low-waisted girly. It looks so cool. But, you know, like poor Jessica Simpson got so much heat for this, but like the mom jean is awesome. And for my body and what makes me feel my best is high-waisted jeans. I like to wear them. I like to wear oversized clothing. And that's not because I don't love my body and I don't want to show it off. It's what feels good to me. And I think just kind of comfort is key. I think just the way I feel in it is what really dictates what I gravitate to. Yeah, that was a word salad. I'm sorry.
No. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
I wanted to just go back quickly to your college experience. And, you know, I think I personally practice health at any size. And I just want to say this for any listener. You know, I think we equate weight and size and how we look with health and performance. And I think that if you go to Health at Any Size, Hayes' website, you'll see that there's actually a lot of evidence that they're not equated in the way that we think they are. And I think, as you said, that oversimplification can be super harmful, especially when, you know, you on the inside are feeling very different from how people are perceiving you. I just wanted to get that in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I don't want to interrupt you and dig in on stuff. I think it makes sense to just be honoring your body, especially, you know, what I've heard is the way that for many years honoring your body looked like honoring other people's perspective on what your body should be, in order to feel safe is like, oh, I'll feel safe if I do what other people are expecting of me. And I think what I'm hearing is that you have a new definition of safe, and safety actually isn't just about what other people perceive, but it's about a balance between the two. Because I mean, the reason I say a balance is that I think it would be naive to think that we get dressed in a particular way. Like, we're interested in fashion because of the expression and a communication. It's not just about how it feels. So I guess that would be a fun follow-up question, is like, what do you want the world to know about you based on what you're wearing?
That's a good one. I think I want the world to know that, this is going to sound like not that exciting, but like, I want the world to see how creative I am. And it's not that I care if they think I'm creative or not. It's about like, one thing I've always valued is like, I am a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a teacher, but I'm so much more than that. I'm not just that. And I think that that's always been really kind of something I've grappled with, is like, who am I outside of that, right? And, you know, I've been with my husband since like 10th grade. Like, you know, like I've had, my kids are, my oldest is 11, but like, I never wanted to lose this like artistic creative piece that I really didn't learn I had until I was an adult. And I think when I get dressed, I think it's my way of expressing it to the world. And I think it's trying to show that like, it's just like, I'm more than just like some of these things. I have other interests, I have other passions, and I have family members, thank goodness, that like support me and encourage me. And I think it's just my way of expressing myself to the world to show that I'm. And another thing, like, I guess I would add really quick is like, to just show that like, I am like, this is gonna sound ridiculous, but like approachable. And like, it's not like, you know, I'm wearing this cute shirt and like but like the amount of people that I've had the privilege to get to know and have little conversations, whether it's at Walgreens waiting for the pharmacy or whether it's at work, like, have been people just like sharing our love for fashion and what you're wearing, and like, I love your shirt, I love your earrings. And the way that that has opened so many more doors for friendships and, you know, shared admiration for different, you know, passions and hobbies has been a really great connector for me in adult life, where it is hard to connect and it is hard to find your people when you go into this new phase.
Yeah, I relate so hard. I can't believe those words are like exactly the words that I use. I did want to ask about, you know, you mentioned as you became an adult, you realized you had this creative and artistic passion. Are there any other ways outside of fashion that you dig in or utilize those skills?
It's a great one. So I think writing is kind of a way that I'm able to do that. One of the things I love on my blog, which is like, I probably pay way too much like attention to it on Substack, are graphics and like images. And I love design. And, you know, as far as like design in my house, like, no, that I'm not good at. But when it comes to like design, that is something I really enjoy. And I started to see it in the classroom as a teacher. When I was, like when I make my worksheets, like I taught middle school for a really long time, and my classroom, like I wish I had pictures, but it was like straight out of like a Pinterest class. Like it was so intense. And I love like color themes and like, you know, when I would make worksheets, like the way I wanted things formatted. And I have some amazing colleagues that I work with every day, a couple of women, and they're always cheering me on in this part of my life. And one of the things they always do is they'll make a worksheet, they'll come up with an idea, and they'll say, okay, Traci, make it pretty. And like, they're just like, and I'm like, yeah, I got this. And like, I'm changing the margins and like, and I think the more I started doing that and surrounding myself with people, some of these women included in my family, that like were empowering me and saying, you're good at this. Like, you should you should sell your worksheets, or you should, you're so like, you should write, or you should share, you should create an Instagram page or a TikTok, which like I can't do. But like saying like, you should pursue this. And I think that's an area. I do think though, I need to do a better job of finding other outlets to embrace it. And I think like, like I've wrestled with like taking a painting class, and I don't know why I haven't just done it, but I know it's something that I really want to do, and I think I'd really enjoy. So I think like it's all new to me. Like literally it's been in the past, believe it or not, like maybe under a year that I've really been kind of growing into this. But I think because my whole first chunk of my life was defined by athletics.
Yeah.
And this is who you are. This is your box. This is your niche. This is what you're really good at. I never took the time to get to know myself and realize that like I'm so much more than that. And I think that's what this new chapter has been. But I also think, aside like my adult coloring books, like there's more out there for me that I want. And I think I need to start taking the risks and seeking it out.
It's crazy. I just bought an adult coloring book yesterday.
So fun. So fun.
We were like watching a TV show and I was like coloring, and I got frustrated that we didn't have some of the colors I wanted. I was like, I have a vision.
No, it's fun.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, and I mean, I can only speak for myself, but one of the ways that can be hard in 2025 is, the pressure to monetize our hobbies and turn these creative expressions into something else. And I don't know, maybe I'm picking up on that from kind of the suggestions that people were giving you as well. And maybe the painting class, does any part of that feel like selfish or something if you're not going to monetize it? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but...
No, I think... No, because for me, it really like when I say it really is creative expression, I really do mean that. And I think one of the interesting things, I wrote a post about being on Instagram and like really struggling with trying to content create on Instagram. And I was struggling because like I was comparing myself to everybody. I was like, why doesn't anyone like my stuff? I feel like it's good. Like I was like trying to like engage with like people and like try, and then I was like, but nobody like, and it just became like this mind wrestle. And my daughter came up to me one day and I was trying to make like a reel, which I can't do. Like I'm so bad at them. And I was trying to make a reel and my daughter was watching me and laughing and she's like, can I see it? And we would watch them. And then one day she was like, Mommy, she was like, how many likes did you get? And I was like, what? And she was like, how many likes and dislikes did you get? And I was like, oh, this feels weird. Like, and then I'm like, did I say something out loud? And she heard me, and then I was like, and I didn't like the way it felt, right? So I ended up just deleting my Instagram. Like I was like, this isn't for me. Like, I don't, this doesn't feel real. This feels like not good. So I went down that journey and then like I eventually created like a really low key new one, but it was like a moment where I was like, this doesn't align with what I am right now and what I'm trying to work on myself with. And I think to go back to like the painting, like, so basically what that means is like, I can very well see something and be like, this isn't the right reasons for me, right? Like this doesn't feel good to me and good to my soul. And I can walk away. Sometimes I'll like light it on fire and then I walk away. But it's like, come on, it's like you can quietly leave, Traci. Yeah. You don't need to like get off the soapbox. But I think as far as painting or something like that, right, that would just be purely a hobby, right? I think sometimes what holds me back actually is just time.
Yeah, okay.
And I think it's like I want to do it and it's like, but what has to give? Mm-hmm. Like, is it my workouts that like I need to feel good? Is it, spending quality time just coloring side by side with my daughter and like that being our moment? So it's like, I just wish I had like a gazillion more hours in a day.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
That makes sense. How is Substack? Substack has likes, comments. There's a lot of gamification happening on the platform. How does writing on Substack feel different with some of those same components from Instagram, for example?
Yeah. I think it feels a little less saturated. It feels like there's like a lot of substance. And to me, like, I always joke that like Instagram just moved too fast for me. I just like, I couldn't keep up, like changes were happening and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I think like, there's something about reading someone's writing that can just really slow you down and you can really absorb it. I think, you know, the way I show up in life and on any platform that I am is just with a genuine heart. And like, that's like just, that's who I am. That's the way. And if you knew people, like I do think that's what they would say about me. You know, it's like being kind because that's just the way I like to operate. And that's like that's the way I like to live. And that's what feels good to me.
Yeah.
And I think on Substack, you know, the engagement just feels more authentic. It's not just like, so if I'm getting a comment, it's not like, love it, period.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which like you might, and that's okay. And I appreciate that. And like, thank you for even just commenting. Like it's huge. But I think what I love is like the people who are like, man, like this speaks to me, you know, or like your writing feels like my inner dialogue, or people saying, you know, when you made fun of yourself, which I do often, like I feel seen. And I think that like there's this level of depth that I feel like really connected to. I think there's this, I don't know, like I think it feels less competitive than like an Instagram does. I think it feels more uplifting. I don't know. I just feel really good when I'm on that app. And I think I didn't get that same fulfillment on something like Instagram.
Well, thanks for going there with me. I mean, there's no wrong answer. I was just curious.
Sure.
So, moving into the last couple questions, what advice would you give to someone who is trying to build a wardrobe that feels intuitive and authentic to them?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is like you have to work on yourself first. I think for me personally, the most important thing was to work on myself first. And what does that look like, right? So that, you know, is this constant journey of how to love myself and how to appreciate my body and all that it's done and all that it's given me. And, you know, to always sharpen my mental health and make sure that I'm taking care of myself there. I think like that's just like the number one thing that has to be done. And it doesn't happen in one day, right? That's a lot of work. But I think it's a really important part of the process, right? And then I think it's finding like what attracts, like what catches your eye, right? Like what do you like? Like I don't want to say what sparks joy, but like, you know, like what catches, whether it's colors, whether it's textures, whether it's an aesthetic, you know. I think like starting to just be aware of what you like, because I think in a world where sometimes we're oversaturated with the algorithm and constant things getting thrown at us and things always changing, that I think sometimes you start to like, what do I even like, right? Versus what do I feel like I have to just start? So I think like there's a lot of inner work that is important to always take care of along your journey. I think a big thing that I've recently been trying to do is like let go of certain things that no longer serve me in my wardrobe. So like I can be like a big hoarder when it comes to things. Like I have bins in my basement. My husband's always like, I am not taking these out. And I'm like, no, you are. And a lot of what's in those bins are things like that I'm hanging on to, like jeans that I'm hoping will fit one day, or you know, shirts that I'm like, maybe it'll come back in style. And I think like a big part of me building my wardrobe has been first working on myself, and then second, letting go of things that, you know, either like are putting unnecessary pressure on myself to fit into them or whatnot, or letting go of things that just like, even though maybe there is a sentimental attachment to it or whatever, like I'm not going to wear them, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's donating or whether it's thrifting, like just finding, you know, responsible ways to let go of those things. I think then, you know, in addition, like we said, to just really starting to take note on what you like, I think it's like something as little as like with that, like just people watching. And it's just kind of like observing. It could be observing people. It could be observing just the way colors go together. It could be observing art. It could be observing flowers. Like sometimes it's just taking a minute and just really looking around at the world. And I think that that's a really underrated moment. We just went to a concert. My husband and I, like, can't believe we got out. And we went to a concert in the city, and we were sitting in a cafe, and we were waiting for the concert, and we were excited. And we were in the city, which I live in the burbs. And like, I was sitting there and I was just watching. And I was like, I said to my husband, who I joke, he's like a 4-shirted husband. He like literally has 4 shirts, like not into this kind of stuff. And I was like, man, I was like, there's just like creativity everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. Like from the way people are dressing, the uniqueness, whether it's tattoos or piercings or hair, like I was just absorbing it. And he's like trying to talk to me about music. And I'm like, no. Like I'm watching this person walk. And I think like that's just like a really also underrated moment, is just being present in your environment and observing. Then I think it's like I said earlier, like just finding the brands that you align with. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, that the clothing fits, it makes you feel good. And I think, you know, looking for pieces that, again, I feel like feel good is number one, but I also think looking for pieces that have multi-purposes, right? Like they can be used in different ways. And that's kind of like when I look for things, what I do is I'll find something that I like. Like I said, I'll go onto Pinterest. I'll try and figure out all the different ways I can work with it. And then I'll decide if it's worth me investing in or not. I think the other piece would be, I think that's really been helpful for me in building a wardrobe. Like they don't know I exist. They don't pay me for this, but would be using like an app, right? Like Index, I've really been loving. And I think what it's really helped me do is actually get rid of things because they're not serving me. It's helped me see my wardrobe as more malleable and that things can go together in different ways. It's allowed people to social style me, which has also opened my eyes to different ways that I can wear things. And I think being able to see my wardrobe in that way also makes me realize what I have, what I don't have, what I need, what I want. Mm-hmm. So that was a lot, but it was like some sort of combination of that.
I mean, it's not an easy question. I love your suggestion around going out into the world and just observing stuff. I mean, I'm not a homebody personally, so I love any opportunity I can to just like soak in inspiration. Yeah. Well, thank you, Traci. This has been really a delight, and I really resonate with so much of what you said, for what it's worth. And I know you said that that's one of the things that you enjoy about writing on Substack is, you know, feeling connection and hearing that other people kind of relate to what you're saying. And I definitely relate. So where can people find you?
So you can find me on Substack. My Substack is Rambling in Style. And I have an Instagram also. It's like a C+ Instagram, but you could definitely find me there. And I always take the time, whether you comment or DM me, I will always reply to you. And I've met some really cool people, so I look forward to engaging with as many people as I can.
Awesome. I'll make sure to include your links in the show notes.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
All right. Thank you. See ya.
Intuitive Style is produced, edited, and hosted by me, Maureen Welton. Our theme music is by Tim Reed and Jacob Welton. In case you missed it, Intuitive Style, the podcast, is an offshoot of Intuitive Style, the newsletter. Head on over to Substack, search Intuitive Style to read the newsletter, which covers reflections on what's happening in personal style world, guest features, and the encouragement that there's no right way to get dressed. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to rate and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Share this episode with someone you think might enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe as new episodes drop weekly on Fridays. Thanks. See you next week.